Fetty Wap. He had everything lined up to go down as one of the biggest rap names of his generation. When Trap Queen hit in 2015, it didn't just chart, it exploded. Diamond certified, #2 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it stayed there for 25 weeks. Then came 6 top 10 hits in a single year. That put him in the same club as Drake, Lil Wayne, and Eminem. His debut album went straight to #1 on the Billboard 200, making him the first male rapper since Eminem in 2013 to do that with a debut. His style helped shape melodic trap, opening doors for Post Malone, A Boogie, and Lil TJ. But then things got messy. He didn't evolve, dropped off musically, and his label fell apart behind the scenes. After 2016, the momentum flatlined. Then came the legal disaster. In October 2021, he was arrested for drug trafficking across New Jersey and Long Island. By May 2023, he was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison. He said he was just trying to maintain his lifestyle, but that choice cost him everything. Chance the Rapper. His early run felt like he was building something historic. Acid rap hit like a storm, and Coloring Book made streaming history, winning Grammys and taking over playlists. He did it all without a label, kept control of his music, and still pulled off one of the most respected runs of that decade. But then came the big day. It debuted at #2, but fans didn't hold back, calling it cheesy, boring, and a huge letdown. The reviews were brutal, and the hype disappeared almost overnight. He planned a 35-city tour to follow it up, but only 5 shows actually happened before the rest got canceled. That momentum he built from 2012 to 2016 vanished. Add in a messy lawsuit with his ex-manager, disappointing music output, and the fact that he turned down working with major producers and labels, it all chipped away at his growth. He started showing up more for politics, game shows, and social causes than the studio. The R. Kelly feature didn't help either. Chance had the tools to be a legend, but instead of evolving musically, he stalled out. The potential was there, but the execution just never matched it. Tay-K, he came out of nowhere with The Race and had the internet in a chokehold. The track dropped the same day he was caught after running from house arrest, and that real-life drama gave the song an energy no label could fake. It went platinum, climbed to #44 on the Billboard Hot 100, and Tay-K was only 17. He signed a deal with RCA that same year, and Santana World made it onto the Billboard 200. For a minute, it felt like he was next. But the legal hammer dropped hard. In 2019, he got 55 years for a murder during a robbery. Then in 2025, another conviction landed, this time for shooting a man during a robbery while on the run. That added 80 years. By the time he turned 24, his music career was done. Industry support disappeared. Even Spotify pulled his music for a bit. No growth, no tours, no new projects. Just a legend that never happened. Tay-K had raw talent, real momentum, and a spotlight few teenagers ever see, but he chose a path that made sure we'll never hear what could have come next. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Mask the Slump God. He came up fast, right out of the SoundCloud era, with unmatched energy and a flow nobody could copy. Take a Step Back and Catch Me Outside weren't just hits, they built him a cult fan base and went platinum. Then came Stokely in 2018, charting at #6, showing he could go big while keeping his sound weird and wild. But after that, the gap started. His close friends X and Juice WRLD both died, and it hit hard. From 2018 to 2024, he barely dropped anything besides Sin City the mixtape, which was cool technically, but didn't push him forward. The long wait for 11th Dimension didn't help either. It peaked at #55 and felt like a letdown after years of hype. Add in canceled shows and inconsistent planning, and fans started drifting. He kept his style sharp, but the mainstream slipped away. The momentum he had from 2016 to 2018, gone. The music stayed solid, but the evolution just stalled. Ski Mask had the tools to be a rap mainstay, but the long breaks, narrow sound, and missed chances kept him from crossing into legend status. YNW Melly, he had all the makings of a breakout star. His melodic style stood out right away, and tracks like Murder on My Mind turned into viral anthems. That song alone went multi-platinum and pulled in hundreds of millions of streams, with fans calling him one of the most emotional new voices in the game. His debut project, I Am You, charted strong, and We All Shine featured a Ye collab, a major cosign for someone that young. At just 19, he was being compared to melodic greats and building a loyal fan base fast. But everything changed in February 2019 when he turned himself in for a double murder. Prosecutors said he killed 2 of his closest friends, then tried to stage it as a drive-by. That case froze everything. Even from jail, he released Melly vs. Melvin, which hit #8 on the Billboard 200, showing he still had reach. But over time, the legal cloud got heavier. Delays, court drama, and the media storm turned his name from rising star to controversy magnet. He had a unique voice and undeniable momentum, but that was buried under charges that completely derailed what could have been a legendary run. Flo, he burst into the mainstream with Low in 2007, and it wasn't just a hit, it was a takeover. That song sat at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 for 10 weeks and went diamond. After that, he delivered hit after hit. Right Round, Club Can't Handle Me, Good Feeling, Wild Ones. Each one had monster success, and his name was everywhere from clubs to commercial. His style blended pop hooks with rap delivery, giving him global appeal. By the early 2010s, he was one of the most commercially successful rappers on the planet. But that success came with a price. Critics often called his music formulaic, built for radio more than artistry. He rarely released full albums that made an impact, and his work started feeling more like singles packages than cohesive projects. Over time, the hits slowed, and newer artists took over that pop rap lane. His last few projects didn't chart high, and his name faded from mainstream conversation. Flo dominated charts, but he never pushed boundaries or grew as an artist. The legendary foundation was there, but the depth, evolution, and influence just never followed. Roddy Ricch. When The Box dropped in late 2019, it changed everything. That track hit #1 and stayed there for 11 straight weeks, dominating TikTok, radio, and charts without even being a planned single. His debut album, Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial, shot to #1 too, making him one of the youngest rappers to pull off that combo. With melodic instincts and sharp lyrics, people saw Roddy as the next big thing, carrying torch from artists like Future, Thug, and Nipsey. He even won a Grammy and had a string of charting features, from DaBaby's Rockstar to Mustard's Ballin'. But then the momentum slowed. His follow-up, Live Life Fast, released in 2021, didn't land the same. Critics said it lacked cohesion, and fans just didn't connect. Even Roddy later admitted it wasn't his best. After that, releases got quieter. And while he dropped Feed Tha Streets 3, it peaked lower and didn't bring back the same energy. Instead of evolving his sound or building off that early success, he slipped into a creative holding pattern. Roddy had superstar potential early, but without consistent growth, his path to legend status has stalled. Cordae. He came out swinging with The Lost Boy in 2019, and it wasn't just good, it earned him a Grammy nomination and proved he could blend lyricism with introspection way beyond his age. People saw him as a bridge between old school sensibility and new school flow. He had cosigns from legends, landed big features, and brought actual bars to the mainstream. That debut album charted well and got critics hyped about what was coming next. But after that, things got murky. His second album, From a Bird's Eye View, dropped in 2022 and didn't hit the same. It peaked at #13, and the response was underwhelming. Fans said it lacked identity, and some felt like he was trying too hard to impress instead of staying true to his voice. Since then, the buzz has cooled. He's still respected for his technical skill, but there's been a drop in excitement. No major chart toppers, no viral moments, and his output's been limited. Cordae's got talent, no doubt, but talent without impact fades fast. He started like he was chasing legacy, but the momentum didn't last. The potential was real, but the follow-through just hasn't matched. Lil Skies. He started off strong in the late 2010s, riding the SoundCloud wave with breakout singles like Red Roses and Nowadays. Both tracks went platinum and charted on the Billboard Hot 100, helping him gain a quick following for his melodic delivery and emo rap energy. His debut mixtape A Life of a Dark Rose dropped in early 2018 and climbed to #10 on the Billboard 200. He was opening for big names, getting festival slots, and building real momentum as one of the genre's rising faces. But after that, things stalled. His debut album Shelby came out in 2019, but it didn't expand his sound or push him forward. Critics called it repetitive, and fans started drift. By the time Unbothered dropped in 2021, the scene had moved on. It barely made noise, and the buzz that once surrounded him disappeared. He also stepped back from the spotlight, rarely dropping music and avoiding interviews. Lil Skies had the early numbers, the fan base, and the SoundCloud momentum, but without evolution or consistency, he faded from the conversation. The potential was there, but the drive to reach legendary status just wasn't. T-Pain. He kicked open the door in the mid-2000s with a sound that completely reshaped mainstream music. His debut album, Rappa Turned Sanga, gave us I'm Sprung and I'm in Love. And from there, he went on a run that most artists only dream about. Hits like Buy You a Drink, Bartender, and Can't Believe It dominated radio. And his auto-tune style influenced an entire wave of artists, from Ye to Future. He won Grammys, stacked #1 singles, and featured on so many charting songs that he practically lived on the Billboard Hot 100. But then saturation hit. His sound became so popular that it started to feel overused, and the industry shifted. When Jay-Z dropped DOA, taking aim at auto-tune, T-Pain's momentum took a hit. He tried to pivot, but label delays, project cancellations, and changing tastes kept him from evolving fast enough. He stayed active, but the massive hits slowed. He's still respected for his influence and talent, especially once people realized he could actually sing without effects. But as far as long-term legendary status, his peak came fast and loud, and the drop-off kept him from locking in that top-tier legacy. DaBaby, he came in loud with Suja in 2019, and it wasn't just a hit, it was a full-on takeover. The track went quadruple platinum, earned Grammy nominations, and put his animated flow and bold delivery front and center. His debut album, Baby on Baby, charted strong, and follow-ups like Kirk and Blame It on Baby kept the momentum going with multiple #1 songs, including Rockstar with Roddy Ricch. At his peak, he was everywhere. Award shows, features, tours, viral videos. His presence was impossible to miss, but it didn't last. Fans started pointing out that his flow wasn't evolving. Every verse started to sound like the last, and critics called out the repetition. Then came the controversy. Public comments in 2021 caused major backlash, and several festivals dropped him from lineups. Brand deals backed away, and even his chart presence took a hit. His newer projects haven't performed nearly as well, and the buzz has cooled. He had the stage, the attention, and the numbers to become a rap staple. But a mix of creative stagnation and self-inflicted setbacks cut the run short. DaBaby had the potential, but not the longevity to match. B.o.B, he came out the gate with range and radio appeal. Nothing on You, Airplanes, and Magic all charted high, hit multi-platinum, and showed off his crossover ability. His debut album, The Adventures of Bobby Ray, debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, making him one of the first artists from that blog to mainstream era to go truly global. He had bars, melodies, and even played instruments, rare at the time. But after that, things shifted fast. His second and third albums didn't match the first's impact, and critics started to lose interest. Then came the downfall, wild public claims about flat earth and government conspiracies that overshadowed his music. Instead of building off early success, he leaned into fringe beliefs and lost industry support. His output became erratic, and he drifted far from the spotlight. The creativity was there, and the talent was real, but the focus cracked. B.o.B had a chance to be a boundary-pushing artist, remembered for innovation and mainstream success. Instead, he's remembered more for controversy than music. His career became a cautionary example of what happens when the message overtakes the music and the consistency disappears. Rich the Kid, he built early hype through mixtapes and cosigns from Atlanta Giants. New Freezer with Kendrick Lamar turned him into a breakout name, and his debut album The World Is Yours went gold, delivering club hits like Plug Walk that pushed his sound into the mainstream. He followed up quickly with The World Is Yours Too, aiming to keep momentum going. He even launched his own label and signed names like Famous Dex and Jay Critch. But somewhere between his second and third projects, the excitement faded. His music started feeling recycled, and critics called out the lack of growth. Features carried many of his tracks, and his own presence got overshadowed. Legal drama and disputes with his label didn't help either, and newer releases charted lower. Despite being prolific, few songs hit the same level as his early work. He had the wave, the look, and a major hit with a Kendrick verse attached, but he never capitalized on it fully. Rich had a head start, but didn't evolve fast enough to stay ahead. His catalog feels frozen in time, and that window of potential legendary status quietly closed. Nelly, he exploded in 2000 with Country Grammar, which went diamond and put St. Louis on the map. Nobody had his mix of melodies, southern slang, and catchy hooks. His debut album sold millions, and the follow-up, Nellyville, gave us Hot, Inhere, and Dilemma, both massive global hits. For a few years, he was dominating radio, crossing genres, and even pulling off country rap long before it was trendy. He had brand deals, movies, and was a cultural force, but the sharp rise eventually led to a slow fade. Albums like Brass Knuckles and 500 didn't land the same. Fans moved on to new sounds, and Nelly's attempts to adapt didn't stick. He kept dropping music, but the hits dried up, and he struggled to recapture that early 2000s magic. While he stayed in the spotlight through features and appearances, the musical influence started to slip. Nelly had one of the strongest starts in hip-hop history, and he did leave a legacy, but he didn't build on it enough to keep climbing. The talent and success were huge, but the long-term impact didn't stretch as far as it could have. Ja Rule. In the early 2000s, he was everywhere, with hits like Always on Time, Living It Up and Put It On Me. He ruled radio and ran the charts. He blended rap with R&B hooks in a way that made his sound accessible to huge audiences. His albums went platinum. He starred in movies, and his name became synonymous with early 2000s hip-hop. But then, the fall came fast. The feud with 50 Cent hit hard, and the public quickly took sides. Suddenly, the hits stopped, and the jokes started. His image took a huge blow, and even though he kept dropping music, it couldn't recover. Legal troubles and label problems didn't help either. And then Fyre Festival happened, a failed event where he became the face of a global disaster meme. Ja had the charisma, the crossover appeal, and a run that most artists would dream of. But the combination of industry beef, shifting trends, and poor decisions erased the momentum. He could have had legendary status locked in, but his legacy became more about downfall than dominance. The early success was real, but the end story changed the way everyone remembered it. YBN Nahmir. He went viral fast with Rubbin' Off the Paint in 2017. The track blew up on YouTube, landed on Billboard, and gave him an instant fan base. At just 17, he had the kind of overnight buzz most rappers never get. His style mixed street content with melodic flows, and for a while, it felt like he'd lead the next wave. As the frontman of YBN, he had a strong collective around him, and songs like Bounce Out. With that helped keep the momentum going. But when the group split, things changed. His solo album Vision Land dropped in 2021 and was met with harsh reviews. Fans said it lacked identity, and most of the excitement from his early breakout disappeared. Other members like Cordae went in different directions and found more sustained success, while Nahmir struggled to adapt. His newer songs haven't charted, and his name rarely comes up anymore in the current scene. He had youth, buzz, and a viral hit. Everything needed to build something huge, but the follow-up just never matched. Nahmir showed promise, but his moment passed before he ever found real staying power. Travie McCoy. He broke out as the frontman of Gym Class Heroes, blending rap, rock, and pop long before it was cool to do so. Songs like Cupid's Chokehold and Close Off turned into huge crossover hits, but his solo career is what gave him a real shot at legendary status. Billionaire with Bruno Mars was a massive hit, earning platinum plaques and radio domination. His charisma, unique sound, and ability to straddle genres made him stand out in a crowded era. But after that, it got quiet. His solo album didn't spawn much beyond the lead single, and his output became infrequent. He dealt with personal issues and label delays that stalled any momentum he had. While Bruno Mars went on to global superstardom, Travie faded from the spotlight. He made brief returns here and there, but none reignited the flame. The talent was there, and his impact on blending genres was early and influential, but he didn't capitalize on it fully, and the game moved on. Travie had a huge launch and all the tools, but his music career just didn't evolve enough to keep him in the conversation long term. Desiigner. He hit the scene like a rocket with Panda in 2016. The track went #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, got Ye's attention, and basically became the soundtrack of that summer. His energy was wild, his sound was infectious, and for a second, it looked like he might take over. He signed with Good Music and followed up with Timmy Turner, which also charted and showed he could carry a dark, melodic style. But after that, the momentum crashed. Critics started calling him a future clone, and the music dried up. Delays, mixtapes that didn't chart, and no debut album for years all added to the loss of buzz. He dropped out of the spotlight and eventually left the label. By the time he released new material, most fans had moved on. He still had energy, but the creativity and growth just weren't there. Desiigner had a #1 hit and major label backing, but didn't build on it. The potential to be a superstar was right in front of him, but without consistency, his moment vanished just as fast as it came. Kevin Rudolf. He came out of nowhere in 2008 with Let It Rock featuring Lil Wayne, and the song exploded. It went triple platinum, hit #5 on the Billboard Hot 100, and became a stadium anthem. Blending rock and pop with hip-hop energy, Kevin had a unique lane that made him feel like a fresh crossover artist. Signed to Cash Money, he had the platform, and early on, it looked like he might be a long-term hitmaker. But follow-ups, like Welcome to the World and I Made It, didn't match the first single's success. His albums didn't chart high, and he faded from the spotlight fast. As the label shifted focus to bigger artists, Kevin's name got lost in the mix. He kept releasing music, but nothing came close to recapturing that original hype. He had the breakout single, the big feature, and the label machine behind him, but not the staying power. His sound didn't evolve, and the industry moved on. Kevin Rudolf could have carved out a rock-rap lane, but after that first spark, everything cooled off. He became a one-hit memory instead of a genre-pushing mainstay. 6ix9ine. He broke through in 2017 with Gummo, bringing chaotic energy, rainbow hair, and non-stop controversy. His songs, like Kuda, Billy, and Fifi, charted high, and he built a massive following off shock value and aggression. By the time Dummy Boy dropped, he had a top 10 album with major features and millions of streams. But behind the music was a mess. Involvement with a violent gang, constant public beefs, and legal trouble caught up fast. In 2018, he was arrested on federal charges, and once he cooperated with prosecutors, his image collapsed. Though he returned in 2020 with Gooba and broke YouTube records, the support didn't last. The music felt recycled, and the antics grew old. Industry doors closed, and fans moved on. The controversy that once fueled his rise became the reason for his decline. He had undeniable impact, but it was built on instability. 6ix9ine had the numbers, the attention, and the reach, but no trust, growth, or respect to go with it. Instead of becoming a rap icon, he became a symbol of wasted hype and a short-term flameout built on chaos. Iggy Azalea. She made a major splash in 2014 with Fancy, which topped the Billboard Hot 100 and turned her into a global name overnight. That same year, she had multiple top 10 hits, a platinum album, and heavy media attention. For a moment, she looked like she was set to become a dominant pop rap figure, but backlash hit quick. Critics questioned her authenticity, and her live performances were ridiculed. Her follow-up singles didn't land, and her album Digital Distortion got shelved. Even with cosigns and big-name features, her second win never came. Controversies about cultural appropriation, public beefs, and label issues clouded her music. Later albums like In My Defense failed to chart strong, and she moved toward independence with little commercial success. Iggy had a historic debut run, but everything afterward felt like damage control. She had the platform, the hits, and the look, but the music never grew, and the industry turned cold. Instead of becoming a long-standing rap-pop hybrid, she became more known for internet drama than evolution. Iggy's rise was fast, but the fall was even faster, and the legacy never solidified. Kid Ink. He found early success in the early 2010s with a string of catchy, radio-ready singles. Tracks like Show Me, featuring Chris Brown and Body Language, gave him platinum plaques and chart spots. His mixtapes built a solid fan base. And his debut studio album, My Own Lane, peaked in the top 10. For a while, it looked like he'd be the next big radio rapper with a formula for club bangers. But after a few years, things plateaued. His sound didn't shift much, and later, projects failed to chart high. He released music consistently, but none of it reached his earlier peaks. Critics pointed out a lack of depth, and newer artists started to dominate the space he once owned. By the late 2010s, Kid Ink's name was barely in the mix. The hooks were there, the image worked, but the evolution never happened. He never became a headline act or a festival staple. Kid Ink had commercial success, but not cultural weight. The start was strong, but the follow-through was too safe. He stayed in one lane, and the game moved on without him. Lil Pump. He stormed in with Gucci Gang in 2017, and even if people hated it, they couldn't ignore it. The track went 5 times platinum, charted in the top 10, and turned him into a poster child for SoundCloud rap. He signed a massive record deal and dropped a self-titled album that performed well commercially. At just 17, he was already getting Ye features and performing at major festivals. But that wave didn't last. His follow-up, Harvard Dropout, didn't get the same reception, and fans started tuning out. His music felt repetitive, his antics grew stale, and the shock factor wore off. He leaned hard into trolling, but without strong music behind it, the hype died. Later projects barely charted, and the public moved on to artists with more depth than range. Pump had all the momentum in the world, but no plan to sustain it. Instead of evolving or maturing, he kept repeating a gimmick until it stopped working. He had a moment, no doubt, but moments don't make legends. Lil Pump had the numbers early, but the artistry never followed. Trinidad James. He came out blazing in 2012 with All Gold Everything, and the track became a cultural moment almost overnight. The song went platinum, got a remix with T.I., 2 Chainz, and Jeezy, and put Trinidad James on everyone's radar. His flamboyant style and catchy ad-libs made him stand out, and Def Jam offered him a major deal within months. But after that, it all fizzled fast. His follow-up mixtapes didn't deliver hits, and the label dropped him in under 2 years. He stayed active with independent releases and features, but none of them recaptured that first wave. Industry momentum disappeared, and fans moved on. While he found success as a personality and even a fashion influencer, his music career stalled out. Trinidad James had one of the quickest rises of the era, but no consistency to follow it. He had charisma and early hype, but the lack of strong projects and staying power kept him out of long-term rap conversations. He'll always be remembered for one song, but but not for a catalog or legacy. The potential was real, but it vanished as quickly as it arrived. Ugly God. He blew up in 2016 with Water, a viral hit that matched goofy humor with surprisingly catchy delivery. The track earned millions of plays, and he built a cult following off self-deprecating bars and absurd one-liners. With the Booty Tape, he hit the Billboard 200 and looked like a new wave comedy rap voice that could ride internet energy into a full career. But after the initial buzz, things slowed way down. He barely released music, and when he did, it often flew under the radar. Fans started noticing long gaps between drops, and his presence on social media overshadowed his songs. His album Bumps and Bruises dropped in 2019, but didn't land with much impact. By the time newer artists took over that quirky, meme-driven lane, Ugly God had already vanished from the main stage. The creativity was there, and he had a niche that worked, but he didn't build on it. Ugly God's career became more about what could have been than what was. He had the moment, but not the momentum. Without consistency, he became another internet-era rapper who faded too fast. Smokepurpp. He was right in the middle of the SoundCloud explosion, breaking out with tracks like Audi and riding with the same energy as peers like Lil Pump and X. His mixtape, Dead Star, charted on Billboard, and fans saw him as one of the next faces of melodic trap. He signed to Alamo Records, got high-profile features, and looked like he was positioned for mainstream takeover. But then came the inconsistency. His debut album, Dead Star 2, underperformed despite years of buildup. Critics said it lacked direction, and fans didn't connect. His follow-up, Flo Rida, also missed the mark, and he started dropping music that felt rushed or unfocused. Public performances went viral for the wrong reasons, like videos showing empty shows and weak crowd reactions. The buzz dried up, and the SoundCloud wave he once led passed him by. Smokepurpp had the look, the following, and the cosign, but he never leveled up. Instead of evolving, he stayed stuck in a sound that quickly aged. The potential was there for a breakout star, but the lack of growth made sure he stayed in the background instead of the spotlight. MadeinTYO. He made his mark with Uber Everywhere in 2016, a bouncy, minimalist anthem that helped define that era's lo-fi trap sound. The track went double platinum, and his debut mixtape, You Are Forgiven, gained attention fast. Songs like Skateboard P and I Want kept the momentum going, and MadeinTYO looked like he'd become a reliable voice in the alt-trap space. He had cosigns from big names and carved out a vibe that was distinct and catchy. But after the initial run, his impact faded. His debut album, Sincerely, TYO, dropped in 2018, but didn't make much noise. Critics said it lacked cohesion, and fans moved on to newer artists. Even with consistent releases, none of the later music matched the freshness of his debut wave. While he stayed active in the scene, the growth just wasn't there. He never built out a second chapter to his sound or present. MadeinTYO had the early hits and clear potential to be a long-term name, but without evolving or expanding, he settled into a low-profile space. The talent was there, but the trajectory leveled off too soon. Famous Dex. He burst onto the scene during the height of the SoundCloud wave, bringing wild energy, flashy visuals, and viral moments. Tracks like Drip from My Walk and Pick It Up featuring Rocky helped him build a massive online following. And in 2018, his debut album, Dex Meets Dexter, cracked the Billboard 200 and delivered his biggest hit. He had the charisma, the look, and the fan base to push into mainstream stardom. But instead of leveling up, he started spiraling. His live performances became chaotic. Public behavior raised concerns, and fans noticed a decline in quality. Legal issues, rehab stints, and inconsistent releases killed the momentum. His later music barely charted, and many in the industry distanced themselves. Even with loyal supporters, he couldn't keep things steady. Famous Dex had all the energy in the world, but no long-term plan. What should have been a full run turned into a cautionary tale. He had real potential during the SoundCloud gold rush, but never evolved past it. With the right team and focus, he could have become a real staple. But instead, the hype collapsed before the foundation was even built. T-Wayne. He shot into the spotlight in 2015 with Nasty Freestyle, a surprise viral hit that took over Vine, social media, and radio. The song went triple platinum and hit the Billboard Hot 100's top 10, an incredible feat for an independent artist. His playful delivery and catchy hooks made him feel like a new force in hip-hop, and major labels came calling. But after that one hit, the follow-up never came. His later singles didn't chart, and his debut mixtapes didn't grab much attention. Fans who expected a breakout album or consistent run instead got a quiet fade out. He kept releasing music, but it didn't evolve, and his presence slowly vanished from the conversation. Without a distinct sound or brand to build on, he got lost in the shuffle of viral era rappers. T-Wayne had the numbers, the buzz, and the moment, but it all hinged on a single song. Once that faded, there was nothing left to hold the spotlight. He had the opportunity to grow into a lasting name, but the short burst of fame didn't turn into a real legacy. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.